Okay, good evening and welcome to the April 28th, 2025 meeting of the Barnstable Planning Board here at Barnstable Town Hall. We are located at 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. In the James H. Crocker Jr. Hearing Room located on the second floor, and it is 7 p.m. The meeting notice has been previously filed with the town clerk in accordance with Mass General Law. All application materials may be accessed through the Planning Board website or by contacting Karen Pina at karen.pina@town.barnstable.ma.us or calling 508-862-4064. A notice of recording. The meeting will be televised live via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live stream on the Town of Barnstable's website, streaming85.townofbarnstable.us/cablecast public site. And I will now inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if you are, please make your presence known. Seeing none, we will call the meeting to order and introduce our board members and staff, starting with Matt.
Good evening, Matt Tague.
Michael.
Michael Messinas, good evening.
Mary.
Mary Barry.
Ray.
Ray Sexton.
Bob.
Good evening, Bob Twist.
Tim.
Good evening, Tim O'Neill.
And staff, we have Jim.
Good evening, Jim Kupfer, Director of Planning and Development.
And Karen.
Karen Pina, Admin Assistant, Planning and Development.
And my name is Steve Robichaud. We'll start with general public comment. This is for public comment that is not related to any agenda item this evening. If anybody has any general comments for us this evening, please come forward. Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Welcome. State your name for the record.
Hi,
Thank you.
Eric Schwab from Hyannis. I had a question about the agenda. The item that's coming up references 3 properties, but the supporting documentation references 4.
Okay.
Happy to correct the.
If you could, Jim, thank you.
3 addresses, 4 properties. 4 properties are listed as such. 3 separate addresses. Thank you.
3 separate addresses, 4 parcels. Understood. Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure that's right. The red line indicates 4 addresses, does it not?
I think if I might, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think the motion is to amend the existing zone, which has 1 address in it, by adding 3 more addresses,
That
which would be
makes
a
sense.
total of 4 addresses, but only 3 of which are new.
I appreciate that. I was confused. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Bob. I appreciate that, and great question. Thank you. Any other general public comment before we get going? Okay, excellent. We will start with our A&R this evening. Approval not required. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an approval not required plan entitled Approval Not Required Plan, prepared for Wilkins Lane Properties LLC, prepared by Dupree Engineering, last revised March 28th, 2025, has been submitted to the board for endorsement as an approval not required A&R plan. This is not a public hearing and does not need to be voted to open or close.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ray. And the board is in receipt of a staff report dated April 23rd, 2025, as well as an updated plan dated 3/28/2025. We have the applicant with us here this evening. Attorney Ford, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. Mike Ford here for Wilkins Lane Properties LLC, the owner of this property. And with me is Mr. Jackson, Mark Jackson from New England Development. This is a very straightforward A&R plan. It's dividing a lot that was the product of a prior A&R plan endorsed by this board. The existing lot consists of approximately 17 acres. And this A&R will allow the property to be divided into 3 lots, actually 2 buildable lots and 1 unbuildable lot. It's in the upper right-hand corner of the piece. The buildable lots have frontage that meets the ordinance, and Wilkins Lane is a way that was laid out under an approval required subdivision by the planning board, constructed and released from covenant. Both lots have frontage on that Wilkins Lane, and the deed for the property gives rights to pass and repass over Wilkins Lane out to the public ways. So I think it meets the requirements of an 81L under Chapter 41, Section 81L.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Everything certainly looks good, looks to be in order. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns from the board, starting with Matt?
None, thank you.
Michael?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Mary?
All set, thanks.
Ray?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Bob?
I'm good, thanks.
And Tim?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm all set as well. Look for a motion on this, and let's keep in mind, as usual, that any motion on an A&R shall include the findings found on the staff report. Thank you, Ray.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move to endorse the plan entitled Approval Not Required Plan prepared for Wilkins Lane Properties, LLC, prepared by Dupree Engineering, last revised March 28, 2025, as an approval not required plan with the following findings, which are: the plan as submitted qualifies as an approval not required plan, and it should be endorsed by the board as it does not constitute a subdivision because each of the lots have the minimum required frontage on an existing way, having suitable grades and adequate construction to provide for the needs of vehicular traffic in relation to the proposed use and for the installation of municipal services to serve such use, or has been labeled as not buildable, and all materials and conditions of Chapter 801, Article 4, approval not required plans have been submitted and are in full compliance.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you very much, Ray. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Michael. All those in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And myself, Steve Robichaud, votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you very much, Attorney Ford. Appreciate your time. Okay, moving on to Bob, who's going to read our zoning amendment next on our agenda.
Thank you. This is a proposal to amend the code of the town of Barnstable, Part 1, General Ordinances, Chapters 240, zoning, to add 3 properties to the multifamily affordable housing residential district to allow for by right affordable housing in addition to special permit affordable housing, and to add parking requirements, roof-mounted solar system requirements, principal permitted uses, and other multifamily affordable housing requirements. This matter was continued from March 10th, 2025 and March 24th, 2025. This is a continuing public hearing.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. As Bob said, our public hearing is open. We do have some updates related to this agenda item. The board is in receipt of 3 documents. First, we have a staff report, which we've seen before, dated March 6, 2025. We have a letter from an abutter from Peg Homes, located at 39 Marks Path, Hyannis, Mass. We have the most important piece of correspondence, which is a letter from Councillor Lutke. Now, this item was sponsored by Councillor Lutke, and the very thoughtful letter presented to her does recommend or is withdrawing the item. Now, this item is still before us, so it is up to us to, choose our path forward. We do have a public hearing, so anybody who is here willing to speak on this is going to have an opportunity to do so. In my opinion, we can go through the board and see our thoughts, but in my opinion, in light of the Councillor Lutke's letter to withdraw, it is my recommendation that we do not recommend this item to Town Council in light of that. I wanted to commend Councillor Lutke and Jake Dewey for presenting this. I do like the concept. I do think that we need to see more concepts like this where we're kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. What I liked about this is that it had a path to home ownership, and it was seeking to serve an underserved segment of our population, which is kind of that segment that is in the middle. So, I just wanted to commend both of them for coming up with this, really, I thought, creative and just a great proposal. But again, I think that's our best path forward. That also will give the planning department and town council the ability to dig in a little bit deeper, give it a more holistic look. So that's my thought. I wanted to go to staff first. Jim, do you have anything to add on this one?
Nothing further.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Board members, what do we think? You know, we certainly can continue to dig in, but that's just my opinion. Matt, what do you think?
I think as it's presented, this would fail the uniformity and balancing tests associated with general zoning consideration. I would like to see a district like this expanded and terminated on logical kind of landmarks, maybe a corridor or another section of town, possibly an overlay district that allowed this, but the individual piecemeal conduct of this is not something I can get behind.
Understood. Thank you very much. Michael?
I don't have anything to say, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mary?
I agree. I think the idea was a good idea. I just don't think it was appropriate for specific lots to be allocated specific zoning. But I do like the idea of looking at it and finding a space or an area within a certain boundary that we can identify as specific zoning for this kind of housing.
Yeah, well said. Thank you for that. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, again, good idea. Perhaps we need to just draw back and take a more strategic look. Clearly, there was some concerns with some of the folks that live there. The one thing I do have a concern with is, in this letter, it was brought to the town council and the planning board for review, was given a thorough look by both bodies in the full view of the public. I had hoped the planning board would have been able to put forward some tangible edits that would have made it a better solution. In the end, I believe the planning board's inability to do that validated my concerns for the lots we chose for the amended zoning were not suitable for what I had hoped to. I just don't get that. It wasn't our idea. It was somebody else's idea. It was put forward. Our professional staff, my colleagues, checked it out, but we did what was asked of us. And if a council member has had a change of heart, I think that should just say they had a change of heart and not try to hang it on us.
Sure, well said. No, I definitely agree with that.
Can I just comment
Yeah,
on that?
absolutely.
I read it differently.
Did you?
Yeah, I read it that she realized that we weren't able to make changes to that
Oh, to save it?
Right.
Ah.
I read it that we couldn't take it and expand it like we want to do something, maybe a specific area that can support multi-family housing. So I read it a little differently, so.
You're the optimist, I guess I was the pessimist.
A balanced board, yes.
There we go.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate that. And, you know, I echo the fact that having town council and the planning department under Jim's leadership take a holistic look at this in the area, as Matt mentioned, finding a bit of a more appropriate solution, because I do like the concept, a concept that leads to home ownership, and I think that duplexes are a great solution, having a varied mix of housing options. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm also an optimist. However, I read it the same way Ray read it.
I don't know if you're an optimist then, Bob.
Trust me on this. Yeah, I read this as saying, hey, it was our duty to fix it, and we didn't fix it, and it's our fault. That's the way I read it. And maybe it's just a question of the way the wording led a group of us to different opinions as to what it means.
Indeed.
But the bottom line is, I agree with everything that's been said, so far. I don't think we should let this hang around. I think we should, I think we should just send it back saying, no, we don't
Right.
agree. And people can continue to work on it and bring forward something else that, after all the details have been worked out, and any potential legal impediments that were raised at the last meeting are resolved to everyone's satisfaction, bring it back and have a further discussion and have a vote. But I think we should leave here tonight. This should be gone.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. Well said. Tim?
I think I would share the same opinion as many of my fellow board members, that this was an interesting concept, and I think definitely the thought was potential projects that is missing a kind of segment of the current development that's out there, a different type of development, home ownership, kind of smaller scale, meaning, less dense on site, more spread out, townhomes, duplexes, not just multi-story apartment things. So I think that's, a type of project that we want to foster. I just don't know if this was the best vehicle to do that. I don't know what the best vehicle for this instance or for similar instances could be. I don't know if it's a kind of a larger overlay district. I don't know if it's maybe looking at some base zoning districts and looking at special permitted uses. Maybe that's a way in some areas. And then that can also take a project and give it a very thorough review by our board or another board, if we look at that into the zoning districts. So, I'm kind of bummed out that, we're here. So I hope that we can find a way, or someone can find a way, or maybe if the town councilor who brought it forward, or a group of people can take a different approach or think about it differently and bring it back. I think it is something that we want to foster. I just don't know this was the best vehicle for it.
Great. No, well said. Appreciate that. I think we've got consensus on a path forward for our board here on this item. Again, we've got an open public hearing. We've got some people here tonight. Would like to offer the opportunity for anybody to speak. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name for the record. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Peg Holmes. I'm the one that sent that letter.
Thank you for that.
Hopefully I'm reading you and that this is going to not be approved and sent forward. I would like to point out a couple of things. One of them is that in the doing the setbacks, you are making the setbacks even less than it is for a single-family home in the area, and you really need to watch in terms of how far the setbacks are. Looking at the local comprehensive plan and also the ad hoc committee on zoning, the trees seem to be an issue that's being brought up in all of these plans and everything like that. And by doing all of those 10 feet things, you really aren't going to have the trees that you want to have in the whole thing. So I'm hopeful that you're not going to be doing it at 767 Falmouth Road, but I also, wherever you do it, you need to take that into consideration, because if you're going to have something, you want to have it match the community that it's in, and that would mean with setbacks matching it and the community itself not being overcrowded in terms of traffic and everything like that.
Well said. Very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you again for coming. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. I hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Eric Schwab, Hyannis. See him tearing the place up already.
Oh, boy. Sorry, Eric.
No problem. I just want to make a brief comment. There's tremendous expertise on this board, and I hope that you would lend it to an effort to look at West Hyannis as a whole and consider what can be done to preserve the quality of life of that area. It's a beautiful place to live. I really enjoy living there. And the one thing that distinguishes us is our trees. We have beautiful trees. So think about those trees and think about wider buffers between corridors. The 15 feet was what alarmed me and caused me to come here. The voters asked for 100 feet originally at town meeting years ago, I think in the 90s, for a reason. They wanted to separate the residential areas from the traffic and commerce that flows through the area. So that's important to us. Those buffers are very important to us. And we agree that home ownership is important because that distinguishes our area. We have a tremendous amount of homes that are still relatively affordable. I was in Austerville today. It was a little bit discouraging. But we do still have homes that are affordable in our area, and we want to preserve that. You know, these are well-balanced neighborhoods of varying ethnicities, varying incomes, and we all really do our best to get along, even though we don't always do it successfully. But we do make it best to get along. The reason we get along is because we all kind of live in the same place together, and we want to make that place work. So if you're introducing duplexes, just do it thoughtfully. I don't think anyone opposes duplexes. We just ask that you do it thoughtfully, and we would welcome all of you to participate in that dialogue, and hopefully the LCPC will help arrange that. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good evening, welcome. Just state your name for the record. Thanks so much for coming.
Yes, hi. My name is Natalie Pittenger from Hyannis, and I just wanted to make a few comments if you guys ever do get back to working on this aggressively. One of the things I would want to see you do is increase those setbacks on Route 28. I mean, Route 28, it's just so close. I wouldn't want to see any residents endangered, and I wouldn't want to see Route 28 be forbidden to be widened at some point. Okay, at some point in time, that's what's going to be required. And so anyway, I would just put in a caution about the setbacks on that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was just, sometimes putting people together, and I don't know how many units you people were talking about or envisioned being together. But I'll just mention one thing. Growing up, there was, I remember a development in town, and it was meant for, I believe, the soldiers, and not this town, another town. I grew up in Marblehead, so it's up in the North Shore. And they had these brick duplexes. They're still being used today. I mean, they were fantastic when they were built, and I guess they still are. But there was always a stigma because it was a development. And so I think the guys coming back from the war, they lived there for a little while until they got enough money to buy a house and so on and so forth. But there was turnover is the key. There was turnover in that development. So the thing is about, I just don't want to see any kind of a stigma with any kind of a project that you have going. I also went to school for a little while at Northeastern, and in the back parking lot, if you go there, you will look out across Columbus Ave, and what do you see? You see projects. And they really were a woeful sight. And so I wouldn't want to see anything turn into anything like that. One of the other items that I would like to recommend is there's a national Community Reinvestment Coalition that talks about low-income housing and some of the negative effects on both physical and mental health of low-income housing. And I don't know if any of you have looked into what you would do to avoid those negative effects, but you should. Helping low-income people move out of poverty neighborhoods is definitely a dramatic improvement in their lives. But I guess worrying about the mental and physical health of an added burden on already marginalized people can be a problem in public housing units. Now, I understand that these might have or would possibly be sold off to home ownership, and that would be fantastic if that's the case. One, just a quick caution, I would say, I currently live in a 40B neighborhood, and it's wonderful. I think there are like 6 40B homes in our subdivision of about 30. But the problem is, it's not a big problem, but I think it is that you can move in there, but why would you ever move out? You would never move out. There's nothing to make you move out. So you could become the CEO of IBM, and you could still live there because your taxes are about, well, they're less than 25% of what everyone else pays. And it's a lovely neighborhood, and I think it works out great, and it is a good start in life for many people, and that's what we want, right? But we all know that upward mobility will take hold on some of them, not all of them. If their income doesn't go up, I guess there's probably no reason to leave. But, there are, let's just say, people in my neighborhood who have amenities that I don't have because I have to pay full and fair taxes. If I didn't have to pay full and fair taxes, I would have that too. So anyway, with that, and the other thing is too, I would say, have any of you been to visit any housing developments or cluster developments in Hyannis or Barnstable?
Oh, yeah.
No, oh, you have. Okay, so you've talked to the residents in there, so you know what you need to do to avoid what it is that they might be unhappy with. Okay, good. All right, so that's the only other thing is I just want to be sure that to get your mission correct for everyone involved, not just acceptable. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's it. Okay, thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate your comments.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Ray?
I just, ma'am? Ma'am? Yes. Yeah, I just want to say, I actually grew up in a brick duplex, and my dad was a Navy veteran from World War II, and I'm walking upright, and I haven't been in jail in a long time. But I think one of the things that's critical, I think that we agree upon, is that ownership is really the difference between people taking charge of a place and people living there. Right. And then I think that is critical, and it's one of the things that we keep in mind, foremost in mind. Right. But I grew up in projects. I'm okay.
And it was. I mean, this was, when I mentioned a project, I mean, this was a relatively upscale project, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay, there was nothing, it wasn't like looking out on Columbus Ave, believe me.
Yeah.
But,
So there's projects and then there's projects.
Right, that's right. But I mean, and I don't know what kind of restrictions or rules or regulations went with it. I really don't. But I do know that, the upward mobility of the guys coming back from the war, they got jobs and they did this and they saved their money and they moved out.
Yeah.
And that was how it went. But there was always turnover. Okay.
Yeah.
I think now, I don't know, they have Section 8 housing or something.
Right.
There might be a lot of that in there now because, things have changed. But, the other thing in the 40B houses, like there should be some income cap. I mean, if this is for low-income people, if their income, it gets out of the low-income area and gets into middle or high income, should they still be allowed to live in these homes? Don't we want to make them available for the next low-income person that really needs it?
Yeah, well, New York City, you still have rent control from the 60s, and people that make a boatload of money. I happen to know a family that has handed down this little apartment in Lower Manhattan at a ridiculously, low rent. But the city of New York has not been able to figure out exactly a system to, you can't knock on the door and say, okay, you're making too much money, out of here.
Well, no, but I mean, if you were making 200% of the median, whatever it is they use as the benchmark,
Yeah.
you're making 200% of that. I mean, can't you tell them beforehand and you're out?
I think if it's on the way in,
Yes, on the way in, right,
but once you're there, I don't know if
yeah,
there's a way
once
to
you're
do
there,
it.
I'm not so sure it's a good
Yeah,
time to tell them.
it's a good
But on the
question,
way
yeah.
in,
Yeah.
that we anticipate upward mobility, don't we? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. And some will and some won't, and either way, that's fine.
Yep.
But I just think that you should have, an incentive almost for people to want to move on so that the unit's available for what it was originally intended.
Sure, yeah. It's good feedback. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much. Mr. Dewey, welcome.
Jake Dewey, Hyannis. I just want to say thank you to Jim and to Betty and to you guys for, taking this on. And I just hope we will continue this discussion. And, there is an urgency for home ownership. We haven't seen any of it. I think we're seeing plenty of rental apartments coming online. Unfortunately, not very many affordable. So I think anything home ownership and also just higher density of affordable units. If we can, I've been pushing for inclusionary ordinance update for almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
We've got, I think over 1,000 apartments coming online. We're going to get 100 affordable, and we should be getting 300, I think. But
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you guys. Thank Betty for putting her neck out there on this. And I hope we can continue this discussion, and maybe someone else on the council will sponsor this, or I don't know, Jim can, I'm not sure who could sponsor something else going forward. I think you as a board could bring something forward without the council.
Absolutely.
But somewhere in town, we need home ownership. We need affordable home ownership at, 50 to 100%, to 120% probably. And I think Betty made the point, I think not too long ago, we are the only town on the Cape that qualifies. We're the only gateway city, the only one that would qualify for the Commonwealth Builder Program. So it sort of puts us forward to make a space for it somewhere, and get our piece of that state money into our town to help create homeownership opportunities. So
Well said.
thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. We'd definitely be, we'd be missing out if we didn't, come up with a way. So the thing that I like about the planning board's option to present a zoning amendment is that it would come kind of in concert with the planning department. So, Jim, I think you have heard from the board that this is a great thing for you and your staff to dig into, and we are ready and willing to look at anything and sponsor anything. Definitely want to keep the conversation going. So, thank you. Anybody else from the public would like to speak? All set? Okay, I'm going to move to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And myself, Steve Robichaud, votes aye. The public hearing is closed. Any further discussion or deliberation from board members before we make a motion? Matt, you all set?
All set.
Michael, all set?
All set.
All right, Mary?
All set.
Ray?
Good.
Bob?
Good.
Tim?
I just wanted to clarify point of order. So we are making a motion to send this to town council without our endorsements. It still has to be read into town council. They have to go through it.
Exactly. They still have a full open forum at town council with a public hearing, Jim?
That's correct. It's still, since the council has accepted this zoning amendment proposal, and had a first read and
Oh,
sent
it
it to the
had
planning.
first read and then it came here, so it has to go back to
That's
council.
right.
Yeah.
So the recommendation or not to recommend would go back to the council. They would still have to hold a hearing, and at that time, if they agree with Councilor Ludke, they could certainly accept to withdraw at that time, if they so chose.
But keep in mind that nothing is binding to them. Our recommendation is not binding. Betty's withdrawal is not binding. So if they have a majority that wants to push this through, they have the option to do that, and there will be public involvement at that stage.
Yeah. Or if they can withdraw, they can't, I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing like, that would cause it to be negative, like with prejudice, where they can't reapply or something like that.
No, all options would still be available to them. Any zoning amendment can still follow the same paths that are available to anybody, so.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Jim,
great.
sorry, guys, so
Sure.
just a correction, if we recommend against it and the council votes it down, this would constitute a repetitive petition if this were to come back in its current form.
In its
Current form.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
well
to
said.
clarify, exactly, right?
It's going to be pretty, it would
Yeah,
have to
right.
be exactly like this,
The
yeah,
three,
correct. Any
the four
deviation.
properties, right,
Right.
okay.
Yep, exactly. Okay, any other further discussion? No, all set. I am going to make a motion. I move to not recommend zoning amendment town council item number 2023-075. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And myself, D. Robichaud, votes aye. Okay, moving along down our agenda. Jim, we got a staff update for us?
Absolutely. Just a quick update. The Local Comprehensive Planning Committee is currently seeking public comment on the draft Local Comprehensive Plan. The committee met or had a presentation in West Barnstable on April 15th. They will be presenting again with staff on April 30th at Liberty Hall in Marston's Mills at 6 p.m. Again in Osterville, May 5th, 6 p.m. That will have a virtual option available. And May 8th at 6 p.m. May 8th at 6 p.m. is at the Barnstable High School Performing Arts Center. There will be daycare or childcare available, as well as pizza and craft for the children. And there will also be live Portuguese and Spanish interpretation available. In addition to the Local Comprehensive Plan, seeking public comment. Oh, and I should say, public comment period is open through May 11th, and you can find all of that information at barnstablelcp.com. In addition to the LCP, the Housing Production Plan is also seeking public feedback and encouraged to submit to myself, james.kupfer at town.barnstable.ma.us before May 1st. And the full draft production plan is found on the town's website under the Planning Department, the big housing button. You'll see a draft there. And lastly, the Community Development Block Grant 5-year consolidated plan is also seeking public comment. Those comments are accepted through May 5th. We have a CDBG program page on our Planning and Development website. And I think that's it.
Well done, Jim. Appreciate all your hard work. You and your team. Any comments, questions, concerns for Jim?
A quick question, Jim. Are you going to have a session in Katuitt?
Right now, we have a session for as close to Katuitt as Liberty Hall and Osterville. Okay. So we're not going to Freedom Hall this go around, unless we need to add another one. We were trying to merge some of the villages because it's already a lot of night meetings, but it's certainly open to suggestions.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Anything else for Jim? All set. Okay. Look for approval of minutes. We're looking for a motion to approve the April 14th, 2025 draft minutes. All right. Thank you, Ray. That was Ray. Do we have a second?
This is Tim, I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And myself, D. Robichaud, votes aye. The minutes are approved. Future meetings, May 12th, 2025, and June 9th. June, wow, that's crazy. Here at 7 p.m. Fantastic. Anything before we adjourn? Okay, I move to adjourn tonight's meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor? Matt?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And myself, D. Robichaud, votes aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.